Okay. hmm We're gonna miss you tomorrow, Dave, when you leave the country. Definitely come back with some good photos. And I actually want to order one of your photos. I'm gonna reach out to you as well. Me and my wife are debating which one at the moment. Get another one. And I'm gonna try to maybe display it somewhere where I have whatever. You'll see it. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about trading 9/11. My thoughts. Absolutely insane. 17 years later, trading is indeed still easy to make money in this market. Can the United States rally if China does not? Our precise daily stock levels, our game plan in Forex, as well as our full stock analysis. I am Mark Melnick, and this is the Newsbeat Show. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Newsbeat Show. We're going to have a lot to talk about today. 9/11 is tomorrow. Terrible day for the United States. What are my thoughts of going into trading tomorrow on 9/11? Part 2, is trading still easy? You're damn right it is. Can the US really rally if China remains stagnant or even heads lower? We're going to go through all of that and more. But first, I would like to say thank you to my great friends over at the T3 Live Compliance team. Kindly pause this video, read this entire thing, and then hit unpause. Thank you very much for reading that. And let's just go ahead and talk about the markets, okay? Here's our agenda. What are my thoughts for tomorrow? Well, I was looking at some of the prior some of the prior 9/11s, and it really was interesting. I mean, obviously, the last 9/11 was very interesting because very rarely will the Qs open up at the day lows and just head higher. However, believe it or not, if you don't remember, I will remind you the Qs opened up at 145.30 on 9/11/2017, right over here. That was the day low, 145.30, and we had a small rally. Absolute terrible, terrible, terrible day in the past, obviously, as obviously that was the 9/11 attacks, and the market was a little jittery. Obviously on that day, I always do a little recap of where I was during 9/11, and I do this once a year on September 10th, right before I go into the broadcast. Sometimes I do it on 9/11 itself. Generally speaking, most of the action is done by 11 o'clock. A lot of people are, I'm telling you, like if you walk into Manhattan tomorrow, I mean, a lot of people will walk around like business as usual. My suggestion, don't try to have a long conversation with someone. People are just mentally drained on this day because they're reminded of that unfortunate event that actually happened. And then, of course, at the end of this video, I'll recap my 9/11. But my thoughts are you're going to get some decent trades between 9:30 and 11, and then just slow down. A lot of people are going to go home early. A lot of people are not there for the Jewish holidays. A lot of people are leaving early to commemorate. You have to understand. One thing they don't talk about is there's a lot of people who are going to visit old friends. I mean, I remember when I had to start deleting phone numbers out of my phone. That was the worst feeling in the world. When you're actually just, calling up people and it's going right to voicemail, and then it goes right to voicemail, and then it goes right to voicemail. Then you wait a month later and it goes right to voicemail, and then you're like, okay, I pretty much understand what happened here. And it's kind of weird because I almost feel like there should be like a half hour or 45-minute special on TV that really consists of people who are trying to reach out to people who, you have to understand, like, I didn't know these people's wives or families. Like, I didn't have their wife's phone number, even, for example, nor did I have their address. So, like, I couldn't really hunt them down. If they didn't answer their phone, I mean, that was it. You just disappeared off the face of the earth. And that became a little difficult. So, sorry, I just get this way every single time during this year. But I think we're going to have some really good trading. I think we're going to have some really good trading tomorrow from 9:30 to 11. And I want to talk about the number two thing on my list. Is trading actually still easy? And the answer is yes. The answer is absolutely yes. So I take you over to my game plan today. And if you're in the room, I was focusing on two names for a long. My number one name I was focusing on was AMD. You could have known that if you were watching the show, if you're or rather if you're in the Newsbeat live room. I went ahead and I even tweeted this out. I even tweeted out this list as well. Again, you guys get this in the morning. And what I did is I simply applied the same algorithmic strategies that we invented here in the Newsbeat live room. And, every time I say we, it's kind of funny. Some people come to me and they're like, no, you invented it, Mark. You created it. But honestly, if it wasn't being in the environment with you guys and trying to figure out things that would make it viable for you guys, the truth is I probably would have never discovered it. So I do indeed credit every member of our community with discovering the strategy, even though, I wrote it and created it. It couldn't have been done without you, I guess is the point I'm making. So very simple strategies, one and done. High five. One and done, high five. I spell it out so easy. There are videos on this. I also sometimes do the Fun 21, and I always start with this one, go to this one, go to this one. So again, I basically I even share, my Twitter feed. These are the two names I'm doing on the one and done and high five, and I obviously share it within the room as well. So let's go right into AMD. This is what I mean by making money is easy. One and done strategy. Some people actually made money on this one today. I lost. I lost money today on this one. So right over here, stock shoots up, pulls down. You're looking for the first break of the 1 minute bar, breaks 28.34, gets to 28.45, and that's all she wrote. If you weren't willing to take that 11-cent profit, you would have gotten stopped out right over here. So I actually ended up losing on the one and done. And I think you guys have to remember one thing with the one and done. I'm always, just for future reference, I'm always lighter in terms of my share size or option contract size on an AMD. I'm always lighter on a one and done than I am on a high five. So I basically took 100 contracts on the one and done. For example, let's say, I took 100 contracts on the one and done. I'm taking like 250, 300, maybe even up to 500 on the high five, depending on how I'm feeling. So the size is exponentially more on the high five than the one and done. Ironically, the one and done is actually more consistent of a strategy. It's in the 80s as opposed to the 70% in terms of effectiveness. But going right back to AMD, could have made 11 quick cents on that one and done. I didn't. I got stopped out. So what did I do? I patiently waited. I patiently waited for the high five strategy. Exponentially test right here for the first time between 945 and 950. I'm just going to delete some of these lines so you could see it easier. Came right here to 2814, and then I called out a long right here through 2820. Stock shot up to the 2830s, 2840, and then just kept going up all the way up till actually, off of that high five move, the stock moved to almost $30. It actually hit $30.10 after hours. Right off this high five strategy, you would have been long right off the low end of the range of the day. So absolutely phenomenal call, and you would have never gotten stopped out had you abided by the methodology. And this is what happened with me today. So many of the people in the room traded, much better than me. Like how much, you guys don't need to share your 4 and 5 figure P&Ls, but how much did you guys make per contract? Just asking you guys in the room. So what happened here with me? We broke through 28.14. I bought in. Stock starts hitting the 28.30s to 28.40, and I just dump. And I think that caught a lot of you by a little bit of surprise of how early that I went ahead and dumped. I think it's just you, Alex, just restart. For me, I went ahead and I just took the quick profits there in AMD, and you could see I was basically selling here between 10 o'clock and 10:10 within these candles, and here is the reason why. So here's 10 o'clock to 10:10 on the triple Qs. Look at this. How often do you see this? Red, 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 red. Here's 10:05. Here's 10 to 10:10. Qs go from 180, 158 to 180, 104, then drop again. And the market just kept getting pounced early on. And it was just a weird situation where I look back and I say, you know what? I would have easily had a 5 figure day, a low 5 figure day, 5 figure, 10,000, 10 to 20, $30,000, let's say, depending on, I probably wouldn't have made that much. I probably would have sold early, but that was my potential on the trade. But why am I looking at this chart and why am I telling myself I did the right thing by taking the money on the high five? The truth is, a lot of people in the room, you made 60 cents per contract. That's phenomenal. There are a lot of people in the room who had phenomenal, phenomenal, phenomenal days. Who had phenomenal days. And I basically came back to the room and I basically said, whether or not you held or sold that high five for a quick profit, I think you did the right thing. There were two right things to do. You could have, A, simply abided by the strategy here and basically, let's see, right over here where it says, um, right over here. Where it says set a simple stop below the bottom of the candlestick you chose to buy through. You see that second part? If you actually followed that, you would have actually set a stop here at 27.89 or 27.88. Oh, I think my video just froze. I'm just going to go ahead and fix it. I have this stupid look on my face, and hopefully this will fix it. Up here, Mark Melnick. Beautiful. Okay. Um, So what would have happened here? You would have bought through 28.14 and you would have had a stop underneath here at 27.89 and it would have never stopped you out. Now, me, I took my profits before the full move was realized. And I know there's things out there, and people use this for promotion, and I'm honestly, I'm just warning you for the type of products you'll see out there that it really is BS. So, for example, there are many people who like to prey on trader weaknesses and pretend like they can offer solutions for trader weaknesses. Like, one of the things, you might hear is, how to focus on, the smarter ideas as opposed to the worst ideas, or how to um, hold your winners longer, and how to really, extend. And the truth is, there's no real smart answer for that. Statistically speaking, I have seen some of the best setups and best robot algos out there, and I am telling you, I have from the I don't countless, it feels like thousands, it feels like that I have seen. I've never seen one that was ever set to maximize the profit potential. I've seen trailing stops where it tries to do a trailing stop. I've seen things like that. I've seen every silly strategy out there where it's like, oh, well, you could just buy it, and as soon as the first candlestick breaks, sell out. And it's not really silly. It's a smart strategy in a lot of senses. But anybody who tells you that they're going to teach you how to maximize a winning trade is basically telling you to buy a trade and hold it. There is no right answer to maximizing potential. Like the perfect example, I think, was in Stitch Fix. a stock that I bought during IPO over here, and this was one of my high conviction swing trades, which I loaded the boat in, and I bought it here. And as soon as the stock shot up right over here to $30, I took a lot of shares off. I'm still holding it, thankfully. I took a lot of shares off, and you could have been like, wow, that was really amazing. You doubled your money, Mark. And I say, yeah, but had I held a little longer, I would have tripled my money. Well, obviously, the shares I'm holding now are actually up triple or 200%, as opposed to being up 100% when I sold it at 30. I'm up 200% now with the stock trading at $46. The truth is, to hold your winners longer, all you have to do is pick a stock and not sell. And that a lot of times is the smartest thing to do. However, you are going to suffer more losses. And for a trader, I'll tell you right now, for a trader who is struggling to find consistency, the worst thing you can do is try to write out your winners. For traders who are already there, have the money, make money, that's the next level to get to, I feel. Maximizing profit, I think, is not as important as making profit. Now, granted, there'll be those scenarios where I make 400 or 500 bucks and I could have made 20, 25, 30 grand. But I will tell you, there are those situations where I'd be down 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 grand and I ended up making 1,000. And to avoid those days, I find the overall strategy very worth it. When you are swinging a stock and you're trying to maximize your profit, and some people do in the room much better than me, and I tip my hats. But from my perspective, let's just be honest about what is happening that makes the majority of swing trades work. And here's a weekly chart of the triple Qs or the spiders if you prefer. Here are the spiders. Let's just not pretend that it isn't the fact that the spiders, has this is a weekly of the spiders going back from 2009. Back in 2009 when the spiders were $67.10, you know, then went up to $291 9 years later. That's why a lot of holding on to swing trades work. Now, again, there's a lot of trades that I like to do that I'm going to start talking about a lot more swings. I have disclosed to the members of my room my Swinger 200 strategy, which I'm planning on implementing. In those trades, you can swing for a while. But again, there's some people who do it really well. And there's some people who will talk about their winners and they will really crush it and they'll make oodles and oodles of money on a trade, just like I'm making in SailPoint right now, like oodles and oodles of money because, I believed in the company fundamentally and I'm making oodles and oodles of money in Stitch Fix, perhaps a couple of the best trades I've ever done in my career. But at the same time, there's two different styles of trading. I think if you're approaching trading from the intraday perspective, approach it from the intraday perspective. Whether or not you try to maximize it in some form or fashion, that's fine. I think the most eloquent solution I've ever come with is when you're up money is to sell 75% of it and hold 25% and be the most stubborn SOB that you wish to be. Then at least you have a cushion underneath you. And I think that's a very important aspect. So, yes, trading is still easy. And yes, I am planning on making money tomorrow. So let's just go next on the agenda list. Can the US really rally if China does not? No. No. Who the hell thinks that? I know everybody's in this euphoric state where everything negative that happens just ends up being good for the United States of America. But let me tell you, no, you can't. The markets can't just keep going up while China is going down. They have to go in some form of tandem. Maybe China could slowly go up while the US goes like this. But if China's going like this, you're not going to have the US continuing on a trajectory like this. It just won't happen. So, even though these trade war tariffs went through, let me show you what's happening in the market. So, Jack Ma stepped down, or said he was stepping down, and Alibaba is just getting decimated. You remember Alibaba, the company I said who would suffer the worst from these tariff wars? You know, company like Alibaba right now is just getting decimated. Just absolutely decimated. Reported amazing earnings. Earnings look good. Stock's down a solid, $60 approximately from the all-time high that was made back in early June, which is a phenomenal 30, a solid, approximate 30%. It's just unbelievable. And this is like the biggest name in China, Alibaba. Jack Ma is the richest man in China. And, the CEO stepping down. Tesla, after their CEO was smoking marijuana on the Joe Rogan show, actually popped up higher today. This doesn't really surprise me that it popped up higher. Nothing changed. I'm keeping my target $220 on Tesla. I think his time is done. I think he's misled Wall Street long enough. I think people are going to be phenomenally judgmental on the fact that he was smoking marijuana and drinking whiskey on a podcast. Nobody wants that image for a multi-billion dollar company that loses money. If he was running Apple, if he was Tim Cook and you saw Tim Cook smoking weed and drinking whiskey, you'd probably think like, oh well, the dude's running $1 trillion company that makes money hand over fist. But when you're running a Tesla and you lose more money for every car you sell, you don't want to see that CEO smoking weed and drinking whiskey. Let's just put it that way. I think it's a negative image thing. I have nothing against marijuana. I have tried marijuana a long time ago in the past. I have nothing against the drug, but I'm also not running a multi-billion dollar company that bleeds money every day. That's the difference. So, with that being said, how about our precise daily stock levels? And we're going to go right over here. Here's our September 11th, 2018 stock levels. I'll talk a little bit about what I was doing on September 11th at the end, but if you wish to screenshot this, you could go ahead and do that now. How about our game plan? I'm giving you guys AMD. It was an overnight of mine. It was trading higher at one point. Now I see it's down 4 cents, which I'm not really concerned about. But here's AMD. The big breakout would be 29.94, that Wednesday high, and you elevated with volume and closed right by the high end of the day. And I'm expecting the stock to gap up tomorrow. So bullish on AMD. I would like to see another leg higher. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, how about our Forex? We do have some bullish engulfing bars in the Forex market. So I went ahead and I slapped on a few bids. Here are my live pending orders. None of them filled at the moment. Buy orders, I put them in right before I start the broadcast. US standard lots. Here's the symbol. Here's my bid up to 5 decimal places out. SL is my stop loss in case I get filled and I'm wrong. TP is my take profit in case I get filled and I am right. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we go right into our full stock analysis. That is for Newsbeat Live members only. That's your stocks, my levels, and thoughts. And before we do that, of course, I'm going to share with you where I was on 9/11, and then we'll polish it off. So, I was trading at a firm back in the day called Sonic Trading. It was run by the same guy who created the T0 token for Overstock, Joseph Camarata. And I was trading at the Broadway office. I was living at 34th and 6th. And I actually have some phenomenal photos that I never disclosed to the news or media and never sent it in. But um, I had like figure a 20-foot window, which was like, I don't know, it was like 20 feet high and like 8 or 9 feet, 20 feet long and like 8 or 9 feet wide. And I left. I had a disposable camera sitting there that was still wrapped in the plastic. This is before everyone had smartphones. And I remember I was making breakfast that morning and I'm looking out the window and like I have CNBC on in the living room and I hear that there was an accident at the World Trade Center. So I run to my window and I take a look because I lived at the Herald Towers buildings in 34th and 6th and I was on the penthouse, so I was on the top floor and I had a perfect view of the Twin Towers. And I'm looking at the Twin Towers and I'm looking at them, and it's like dead in the center. Like it's like the landmark view. In fact, when they were pitching me the apartment, they actually that was their main pitch, that you have a perfect view of the Twin Towers, and I'm high enough where I won't hear cabs honking their horn on 34th and 6th. So I look and I see like one of the towers like with smoke coming out, because I obviously wasn't watching when the first plane hit. I was only alerted to it after it did it. So I'm like sitting there, I'm like, huh? So everything is weird. I'm just like, what the hell's happening? I didn't know. Nobody knew what the hell was happening. It was reporting on CNBC. And I decide to rip open the government plastic wrap for my camera. I say government plastic because I think you need like a 4-year degree in college in order to open that plastic wrap. Managed to, using my teeth, probably, loosen two of my teeth opening the thing. Took some snaps. Took some snaps of the World Trade Center while they were both up. One was had smoke coming out, and at that point, I see another plane coming, and I'm looking at that plane, and I'm with, you know, um, my brother, his girlfriend at the time, now his wife, my ex-girlfriend, now somebody I don't talk to anymore. And I was standing there and I was watching it, and I was taking pictures as the plane was approaching the second tower. And the first thing I said as I saw that plane is, you want to know how delusional I was? I mean, keep in mind, I'm 21 years old. I'm 21 years old. I see another plane coming by, and the first thing I think is that plane is probably bringing water to put out the fire of the first tower. That is how delusional I was to the situation that was actually happening around me. And I'm on 34th and 6th. Figure I'm a good 30 to 35 blocks away, like city blocks away from where it was happening. And the second plane hit. I'm snapping that fireball. I get like some great photos during this tragedy. And I kid you not, it was the weirdest thing. My window was open. I'm on the 21st floor, which is the top floor of Herald Towers, which is 50 West 34th Street by 34th and 6th. I'm on the top floor, and the second plane hits. And I kid you not, like 8 seconds later, after the second plane hit, I feel a heat wave hit my face from the fireball. You have to keep in mind, I'm like 35 blocks away approximately. It could be 36, it could be 34, whatever. I'm like 35 blocks away from the Twin Towers, completely safe from, being within, a dangerous vicinity immediately. And I feel this heat wave hit my face. And I'm like, what is happening? I sprint. I'm like, get everything together. We're leaving. I sprint down to the office, which is like a 60-second walk. It's on like 32nd and Broadway. So I just literally have to cross it. I literally, if I run, I'll get there in less than 45 seconds, 40 seconds, like to the elevator, up the stairs. Like I literally lived right by work. That's why I intentionally moved there. And I run up to my computer, and I remember shorting 1,200 shares of the triple Qs. I made like 3, 4, 5 points right away. I covered, and I'm up money, and this is in the pre-market. And then I stopped and I said, "What the what that I'm doing?" And I felt like bad. Like here I am trying to turn this situation and trying to monetize on it, and I felt disgusted. It was the first time in my life I've made money in the market and felt disgusting. Covered my short, ran out of the office, went to the pizzeria, ordered 5 large pies because I didn't know when I was going to eat again. Like, this is how I'm thinking. 5 large pies. I'm taking me, the people around me. We're jumping on a bus. I'm fondling for my Metro card. I come with my Metro card. The guy's like, "Get in, get in, get in," like this. We go in with all these pizza pies, and we drove out to Staten Island on the bus, and we got out of the city. And I will tell you, afterwards, I have never felt the type of camaraderie being a US citizen in my entire life. people, everybody was on the same team. It's crazy. Everyone is on the same team. Obviously, right now we live in a very polarized environment where, the political divide. If you're not from the U.S., I'll tell you the political divide in the U.S. Is creating a lot of um, differences in people. People are getting divorced over politics. Friends are not talking to each other anymore in politics. The majority of people I know are not talking to someone they used to talk to based on US politics. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because on that day, on 9/11, and for the months, I would say less like 6 to 9 months, maybe even a year after, for the next year after 9/11, I've never felt closer um, to the people, random people you don't know, and even people you do know. I've never felt closer in my life to those people than I did after that catastrophe happened. And it's kind of interesting to reminisce and take yourself back to that moment where nobody gave a you know what. There was no talk, nobody cared about. There was no prejudice. There was no racism. People didn't give a you know what about politics. Nobody cared about anything. Everyone was the same. You were just an American, and that was it. Everybody was just an American, and it was one of the most beautiful feelings I have ever experienced as a human being after such a tragic event that I have witnessed personally, and that is my experience on it. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the Newsbeat live trading broadcast. We're going to be looking forward to capitalizing on 9/11. And no, I will not feel disgusting making money tomorrow as I did on September 11, 2001. I hope you guys enjoyed the Newsbeat show. Happy trading, make money. We'll see you guys next time on the Newsbeat live trading broadcast. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful evening.